the Senate will hold a vote on extending expiring healthcare tax credits. Britain's public broadcaster has been criticized for editing a speech Trump made on January 6, 2021, before protesters attacked the Capitol in Washington. AP correspondent Nayeon Kim reports.
The head of the BBC and the British broadcaster's top news executive have both resigned following criticism of the way the organisation edited a speech by US President Donald Trump. The BBC said Director General Tim Davie and News CEO Deborah Turness had both decided to leave the corporation. Turness was in London to see her legal teams on Monday and took questions from local media.
I stepped down over the weekend because the buck stops with me. But I'd like to make one thing very clear. BBC News is not institutionally biased.
Britain's publicly funded national broadcaster has been accused of editing a speech Trump made on January 6 in 2021 before protesters attacked the Capitol in Washington. Critics say the edit that was part of a BBC documentary was misleading and cut out a section where Trump said he wanted supporters to demonstrate peacefully. Nayeon Kim, London.
California health officials say preliminary tests found that ByHeart baby formula contained the type of bacteria that produces the toxin linked to a botulism outbreak. At least 13 infants in 10 states have gotten sick. No deaths have been reported. This is AP News. A pair of Major League pitchers have been indicted after allegedly rigging pitches for bettors. Correspondent Gethin Coolball has more.
Cleveland Guardians pitchers Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz have been indicted on charges they took bribes to give sports bettors advance notice of the types of pitches they'd throw and intentionally tossed balls instead of strikes to ensure successful bets. They have been on non-disciplinary paid leave since July while Major League Baseball investigated what it called unusually high in-game betting activity when they pitched. Ortiz was arrested Sunday by the FBI in Boston. His lawyer issued a statement that his client was innocent. Clase was not in immediate custody. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
President Trump became the first sitting president to attend an NFL regular season game since 1978. Loud boos could be heard as he appeared at yesterday's Washington Commanders game. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A winter weather advisory remains in effect. Periods of snow showers early today. Otherwise, we'll see decreasing cloud cover with a high in the mid-30s. Winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. Tonight, increasing clouds, a low near 27. By Tuesday, a slight chance for snow early on. Partial sunshine develops, high around 41 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 27.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chu.
Good Monday morning, progressives. Chins up and shoulders back. Welcome to the November 10th, 2025 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, HeartlandSignal.com, and YouTube. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com. And I suspect you guys might be emailing and texting me today. Follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Spoutable, Substack, and Threads. catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, driving it home with Miss Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. Yes. And you also have to make your way over to heartlandsignal.com. Why? Because there's good stuff there. Devin and I were joking a moment ago about, when he sneezes, I sneeze. When I sneeze, he sneezes. So hopefully this morning, neither one of us is going to be sneezing because the weather is crazy. There was that moment where the three of us, Devin, Mike, and myself, yesterday, late yesterday, were like, But we made it in, and we're thankful that we all made it in safely. So what I will tell you guys, please, everybody, as you're commuting today, if you're listening to me now, however you are, if you're in Chicago, you need to leave a little bit earlier. Even though we didn't get as much snow as they said we were going to get, the 8 to 10 inches, it hasn't fallen. A good amount of snow did fall, but IDOT and CDOT got their. They always had their act together. I would say that Chicago has got to be in the top two cities in the country when it comes to dealing with snow and weather issues like the snow, ice, all the above. So early kudos to the first battle that IDOT and CDOT have had to take on this season. But if you're commuting by train, bus, Uber, Lyft, whatever, taxi, however you're getting to work today, if you walk, everybody please leave a little bit early. Get out of the house now if you got to get just add some time to it. And I mean that from a driving standpoint, or if you're going to be in some sort of vehicle transportation, but also when you get there, if you take public transportation and you have to walk, 4 or 5 blocks to your office or whatever, or through the parking lot, once you park in the parking lot and then walk to the building where you work, give yourself extra time. You don't know that the street that you walk, the sidewalk that you're on, or the parking lot that you have to walk through, which could be windy as hell and therefore icy. You don't know that they've gotten everything squared away. Just be careful stepping onto curbs and off of curbs, onto buses and off of buses, onto ramps and off of them. Uncle Richard is speaking loudly this morning to everybody that's got to be out there. Please take extra time if you're in Chicago, in the Chicago area, surrounding area, and you're commuting. Those who are also in the upper Midwest, same thing applies. You'll probably hear this a few more times over the next 5 months of us dealing with our crazy A weather. But I just don't want anybody, I want everybody to stay upright. No slip and falls. There you go. On today's show, our guests will include Sarah Jones in the 7 o'clock hour from PoliticusUSA and the Daily Politicus, and Kate Lincoln Goldfinch. As you guys know, Kate's been with us before, and she is one of the top immigration attorneys in the country. So we will be talking with both of these professionals in the 7 o'clock hour with Sarah and the 7:30 hour with Kate. And we've got the lines open this morning because I know that the elephant in the room with regard to the Senate vote is probably top of mind for a lot of people. So let me just say now, we want to make it so that if you guys got something to say, which I'm sure many of you do, that you can give us a holler and we can talk it out and make sure that you've got a place to vent your concerns. So we made a couple of adjustments this morning so you guys can chime in with us. In terms of making your way over to heartlandsignal.com, we're loaded up, guys, with so many clips and posts that took place late Friday and over the course of the weekend. Everything from Bernie Moreno admitting, and if you guys don't know who Bernie Moreno is, he is an elected senator in Ohio who admitted that they were collecting vehicle identification numbers on Democratic lawmakers from their vehicles. And Amy McGrath, who was with us last weekend, saying that Republican candidates have failed Kentuckians and how hard the tariffs are actually hitting people there. And then also Nikki Buzinski talked with Joan last week, and so you've got some great clips there for you guys to check out. Make your way over to heartlandsignal.com so you can check out those articles and posts. But right now, check this out, progressives.
This is as a result of us continuing to push legally with the judge and the judge ruling that no longer would there be a partial payment, but the full payment. And the moment we got that ruling, Secretary Arkush went into action, pushed that button, and got the dollars flowing again, the federal dollars. And look, as for J.D. Vance, I mean, I got to say, look, I think America has a president and a vice president that don't give a damn about all Americans. They have made that crystal clear. And I mean, at least with Donald Trump, he's transparent about that. J.D. Vance is a total phony. And let me explain why. J.D. Vance rose to some prominence by writing a book about growing up in Appalachia, where there's a whole lot of people who get snapped. He made millions of dollars on the backs of telling their stories, and then he turned his damn back on those very people who he likes to write about and claim as his own. Here's another thing J.D. Vance claims. He claims to be a person of faith. I know my Bible. And my Bible teaches us that we are to love thy neighbor. That's right. And we are to feed the hungry. That's right. Deuteronomy says if you see a person who is in need, you don't give them a clenched fist, you open up your hand. So for J.D. Vance now to turn around after claiming all these things his whole life and literally go to court to stop hungry people from eating, that is not only phony, it is shameful. And this is who is leading America today. And folks got to wake up and realize the people who are leading in America quite literally want to keep people hungry. And you'll excuse me for getting emotional about it, but when I see hungry people in my state who are hungry because of J.D. Vance's politics, that makes me angry. And that's why I went to court. And that's why we're funding SHARE. And that's why we're putting dollars back on people's SNAP cards, because that's what the people of Pennsylvania deserve, and America deserves better than J.D. Vance.
That, if in case you didn't know, is Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, speaking his truth. And, there's a lot to talk about, obviously, with the Senate vote. And there's a lot of folks that are understandably angry, frustrated. I am one of those people. But I'm angry and frustrated at a bigger part of this conversation than just 8 senators that decided to vote as they did. And I gotta. We'll talk about this. I want to get you guys involved in the conversation, which is why we made a little bit of change with one of our guests, because I understand you guys want to talk about this. So don't hesitate to call. We will get you on. That's why we kind of cleared some things up a little bit this morning so we could make a way. We had a guest scheduled for 6:30, and I'd like to give you guys some time to talk about the situation. But what Governor Shapiro really is saying is that Democratic leadership obviously has got to be strong and stand up. We all know that. And the president and the vice president are the tip of the spear for this chaos. Let us not forget that, guys. Okay, I'm going to talk about that a lot. I'm not excusing any, weak behavior. But we're going to talk about how I want to talk about what I see is happening. And I also want to put that in the context of what we have to do going forward. Because it's going to be easy for us to get stuck on this and not be willing to move forward. Because we have to, moving forward doesn't mean we don't acknowledge. It means we still have to go about fixing things. Okay? What Governor Shapiro is done and other governors have done is they're working toward fixing things in their state. They're working towards making sure that the people of their state, irrespective of what happens by the votes in Washington, House or Senate, that things happen properly. And he's reminding us that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are at the tip of the spear, president and vice president, along with this regime of this chaos. And I don't want us to lose sight of that. We can't lose sight of that. So, J.D. Vance, prepare yourself because, don't think you're going to be able to carry the water in this next general election if you end up being the nominee for the Republican Party. That being said, we're going to take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. The NFL season is back, and I wanted to be, here are the teams that support the Democratic Party, but, yikes. As in 2024, NFL donations to Republicans skyrocketed 7 times more from the 2020 election. And the biggest Republican donor was the Walton family. Not only do they own Walmart, they own the Denver Broncos. 83% of NFL's donations went to Republicans. So let's talk about that 17% that didn't. The Atlanta Falcons. Arthur Blank, he was the largest NFL donor to the Democratic Party, donating $1.3 million to Kamala Harris's 2024 campaign. And Arthur J. Rooney, the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers, also donated to Democrat politicians in 2024. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers donated $3.2 million to Democrats in 2024. And the Minnesota Vikings donated $32,000 Democrats in 2024. Is MAGA still mad about the male cheerleaders now?
Hey, Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks to Devin for getting us going this morning. It is not easy for engineers to get up early in the morning, even earlier than normal, to make sure that they can battle the weather and the snow and all that to get us here and get us off to the races. So when you guys call in, make sure to give Devin some kudos and Mike as well. So listen, well, first, you know what? Let's do this. Let's hit them with some Choose Views news, and then I'll come back to some topics and observations. All right, guys, Choose Views news here on November 10th, 2025. SCOTUS puts SNAP payments on pause. Now, I know people were frustrated as heck over the weekend. The U.S. Supreme Court temporarily paused the court order requiring the Trump administration to fully fund supplemental nutritional assistance program known as SNAP. A lower court ruling by Judge John McConnell had said SNAP payments should resume on Friday amid the federal government shutdown. The administrative stay issued by Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson Friday night does not address the legality of Judge McConnell's earlier ruling, but rather gives an appeals court more time, 48 hours, to weigh in on the case. Now, just so you guys understand this, she didn't just pass it off to, she played it kind of smart. And here's why, if you understand how the court systems are stacked up, not stacked up, but how they are set up. By sending the appeals, or the appeal to the First Circuit, which, by the way, happens to be loaded with Biden and Obama judges, she made it sure that it does move faster and is actually in the right hands, meaning judges that understand the importance of this. And these are, essentially judges that look at this from a broader perspective than the narrow one that Trump's trying to lay down on everybody. So I don't think it's just coincidence. I think there's some strategy in this, and it gives them time to get it right. Because had they not gone in this direction, this lower court ruling could essentially make this a permanent ruling. So, not a legal expert, did as much reading up on it as I could. My point is, don't be hating on Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. This has got to bake itself out, and we will keep an eye on it so you guys can be aware of what's happening. Flight cancellations mount amid the FAA slowdown. Over 1,100 flights were canceled yesterday, on top of 800 cancellations on Saturday and 1,000 cancellations on this past Friday, according to the FAA. Currently at 4%, the cuts to the air traffic are expected to increase to as high as 10% by this Friday coming. That may all change now with the vote from yesterday. The FAA ordered the slowdown amid staffing shortages that we are all aware of. The flight reductions are in 40 cities, including Atlanta, Denver, Dallas, Chicago, Houston, Los Angeles, and New York City. Restaurants are facing some tough choices as menu prices stagnate. Restaurants are navigating a challenging landscape as consumers dine out less and as essential costs are rising. To maintain customer loyalty, many chains are keeping menu prices stable, with the latest Consumer Price Index data showing that food away from home inflation decelerated to 3.7% from 5% at the start of 2024. While this is a win for consumers, restaurants are taking a hit on their profit margins. Soon enough, people are saying that they may have to either increase prices or price pressure on suppliers, cut staff, or close down, none of which are good options. UPS, FedEx grounds the MD-11 cargo planes following the deadly crash that we saw last week. Their McDonnell Douglas MD-11 planes following this deadly crash in Kentucky that killed at least 14 people. The world's largest cargo carriers each said the decision was made on the recommendation of manufacturer Boeing, while the National Transportation Safety Board investigates the incident. Ditching the penny is looking less wise to businesses. Why is that? It may get worse heading into the holidays. The Trump administration's declaration earlier this year that pennies would no longer be minted has begun pinching merchants who are increasingly unable to produce exact change for cash customers. And banks, which are rationing the coin, are also feeling the same pain. While many restaurants and stores have begun rounding change to the nearest nickel, they are also demanding Congress take a stand on the practice. Plus, not all customers agree they should take losses on their purchases. We said it, months ago that this would be the outcome. Turkey prices, last but not least, may gobble up Thanksgiving budgets. Your Thanksgiving turkey will be likely a lot more expensive this year. The U.S. turkey flock is the smallest it's been in nearly 4 decades, thanks to the highly pathogenic avian flu, also known as bird flu. That's driven wholesale turkey prices up 75%. I can barely get that out. It's driven wholesale turkey prices up 75% over the past year. Individual shoppers can expect to pay about $2.05 a pound for their Thanksgiving birds, according to Purdue University, even more if they purchase from retailers who didn't place their orders early enough to nab lower wholesale prices. Tariffs, Trump, the GOP. That's what that's all about, guys. All right. Thanks, Deb. So don't hate on Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. Do some research, read through the ruling, the why, and what it means, and what the goal is in her stay, and then come back to the table and talk a little bit about it. But let's grab a quick call from our good friend Kurt in Akron, Ohio. Hey, Kurt. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. And by the way, happy 250th birthday to your brother-in-law and to my dad today.
That's right. That's right. In case y'all don't know what Kurt's talking about, Kurt, tell him.
It's the 250th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. Hoorah. Semper Fi.
There you go. There you go. Man, thanks for that, Kurt. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate my dad and your brother-in-law's service in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
But, there are Marines that we can hate on, too.
Yeah.
J.D. Vance.
Yeah, J.D. Vance.
Yeah. In fact, he Saturday was at a Marine Corps ball in D.C., and he said the Marine Corps is what made him honest to this day. And I had to laugh myself silly on the floor. But, this dude, do you know who Beverly Aiken is?
Beverly Aiken. Why am I drawing a blank on that name?
It's his mother.
Oh, see? No, I didn't realize that. Go for it.
Okay. When Beverly Aiken was addicted to alcohol and drugs in the state of Ohio, she had to depend on Medicaid while she was unemployed in order to get the treatment she needed in the state of Ohio. When she got a job after her sobriety started to take hold, she could no longer be on Medicaid based on the income she was making, but she qualified for, get this, kids, Obamacare or Affordable Care Act subsidies. So I have a real problem. with a man who, as Vice President of the United States, the President of the Senate, comes in and breaks a tie-breaking vote, a 50-50 tie-breaking vote on a big, beautiful bill that cuts $1 trillion in health care subsidies and Medicaid for people like his mother. When someone votes against something that helps his own mother, you can't trust him any further than you can throw him.
I'm telling you, that's the truth.
And then here's the thing, too. And you know my position on this, and you've read some of my stuff on this. Sherrod Brown is running for the Senate seat that J.D. Vance vacated when he became vice president. John Husted's the caretaker right now.
Right.
Sherrod Brown is the United States Senator, and Kamala Harris is vice president. They voted for something called the American Rescue Plan. They also voted for something called the Inflation Reduction Act, where Kamala Harris had to come in and break those ties for the 50-50 vote. Those things helped lift 40% of children out of poverty. They increased the subsidies on the Affordable Care Act that now J.D. Vance voted against in that big, beautiful bill. They voted to give I said the thing about the lifting the children out of poverty, which is the 6 months of child tax credit checks the parents got. They also paid for municipalities like your police, your fire, and your school teachers to get paid during COVID, as well as getting free tests for COVID and free vaccines for COVID. So I really feel that Sherrod Brown is in a very unique situation to do a lot of comparing and contrasting going into next year's special election in Ohio. And I hope to God that I'm going to do my part, but I hope to God that you and other people in your position pound those comparisons and contrasts.
I think
and
it's got to be, Kurt, and first of all, thanks for that reminder. What you just said, the compare and contrast, you've heard me talk about this, and I've taken some criticism from folks about stop talking about hating, just voting against. But I think that part of the messaging has to be, the compare and contrast. Here's what they're doing to the country. Here's what we're going to do.
Like our own mother.
You know what I mean? We've got to be willing to show that this is the harm that what they've done is done, and here's a better way. So the compare and contrast sort of thought process, I think, is important right now.
And here's the thing you need to say, too, is you need to say this is what people like J.D. Vance and John Husted are. Forget Donald Trump. He's going to be a has-been for anyway. But we need to now start pounding on J.D. Vance and the current Republicans in Congress.
Yep.
We need to start using language like this is what they did to you instead of what they did for you.
Yep, absolutely.
That's the language that you need to pound.
Compare and contrast has got to be. It's got to start right now. We can't wait, and I just think waiting is a bad play. Right now, it needs to be stated. Even with the shutdown, this is what they did to you, and this is, we can all debate on what happened.
And am I happy with what some of those Democrats did? You know what? Here's the thing, and at least they're talking about extending SNAP benefits through the end of this fiscal year, which is September 30th.
Right.
So that's good. But as far as, we're going to negotiate and we're going to see what we can do by mid-December as far as coming up with an idea for health care, that's where the Democrats kind of screwed up in the sense that they got burned before when they took the Republicans on good faith like that.
Yeah.
So that's my concern at that point. But maybe I can be proven wrong. I hope I'm proven wrong on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of conversation right now, and I'm going to get into this after the break. But there's a lot of conversation right now, and I'll talk a little bit more about it. But it is something that we know the government needs to be open, but at what cost, I think, is what so many people are concerned about. And to the extent that there's this conversation that Democrats caved, not every Democrat, 8 Democrats voted for this. So every Democrat didn't cave. But what I will say is, I want to know more about the actual compromise. I want to know what actually.
And remember, too, what every major economist always said: don't ever go on strike or don't ever lose your job around Christmas time when you're in the travel industry.
Yeah.
And I think that had a lot to do with it, too. We are going into a big travel industry or a big travel season right now. And people are going to get really upset if they can't get to their destination for Thanksgiving or Christmas.
No, that's a conversation that we're having in our household, and friends and family are already having that conversation. So that's a reality. Kurt, man, listen, thanks for the call and chiming in on J.D. Vance, because that's that's part of what we should be talking about as well as we go forward, because we know that he's going to be part of that conversation.
And you're welcome. And the thing is, we need to really start pounding. If he can do this to people like his own mother, who else is he going to do this to?
Good point. All right, my man. Have a good day today. Commute safely. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
I already did. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Let's take a quick break. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why the big wireless companies want you on an unlimited plan? It's because they need you to help cover the cost of the 20-somethings who are using a lot of data every month. Fact is, according to the latest research studies, most people 50 and up, like me, only use 12 gigs or less each month. Don't get bamboozled by big wireless. At Consumer Cellular, pick what suits your needs. Whether it's 1 gig, 5, 10, or unlimited, the point is, pay for exactly what you need and nothing more. We use the same towers as the big guys, but since we don't own and maintain them, we can pass the savings on to you. Our plans start at just $20 a month, and you'll get the best customer service in the business. I want to invite you to join the millions of people who choose something better than big wireless. Because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A winter weather advisory remains in effect. Periods of snow showers early today. Otherwise, we'll see decreasing cloud cover with a high in the mid-30s. Winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. Tonight, increasing clouds, low near 27. By Tuesday, a slight chance for snow early on. Partial sunshine develops, high around 41 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 26.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. I want to give a shout out to Patty Vasquez. Patty was the keynote speaker at the McHenry County Democratic Women's Fundraising event. And so shout out to her, and shout out also to our good friend Natalie Ziemba, who is one of the councilwomen up in Woodstock. So local politics getting it done. Thanks to both Patty and to Natalie for their hard work in making sure that the McHenry County Democratic Women's Fundraising event went well. And shout out to all of our locally elected officials who are in county seats, city council seats, et cetera, doing the work to keep those entities moving forward. And so just some good vibe to be sent to Patty, and some good vibe to be sent to Natalie as well. So give a shout out to Patty if you get a chance to call into her show later today. And you guys know how to find Natalie on social media. So shout out to both of these brilliant, beautiful, inspiring women who we happen to be fortunate enough to hang out with every now and again. That being said, listen, last week, Tuesday's wins were big. And, momentum's important. Was this vote a momentum killer? No, it doesn't. See, this, you guys, I think, understand this about me. I think you do. I am a pragmatic person. I have my favorites and favors, and meaning things that in directions I go, I favor certain things. This situation this vote, these 8, there's a lot of people out there on social media saying they were betrayed, and, we know that there's some piebacks in the Democratic Party of elected officials on the Senate, in terms of federal level, in the Senate and the House. We know that. And so we can slice and dice this all we want. And I'm disappointed because I know that the concern is what's going to happen with the ACA. It's a big A deal. We know that. And so I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys I have the solution to what took place with this vote. I'd like to see more about what it is behind it. We know that last week, and thank you guys for your text this morning, the numbers were real strong in terms of Democrats finally showing well, let's put it this way, voters stepping up to show that they were going to support Democrats who were leading. We'll put it that way. And that happened. That didn't die because of what happened yesterday. Let's just be honest. Those victories are still there. You can't tell me that Spanberger and Sherrill and Madami and Mississippi and Georgia and Pennsylvania, California, suddenly those victories are done because of 8 senators deciding to vote as they did. That's not the case. We cannot do that to ourselves. Those 8 senators, whatever their reasoning was, that's behind the curtain. For my point is this: there are senators who, each of those senators have nothing politically from an election standpoint at jeopardy. Durbin's leaving. I think it was kind of weak on his part. Others are not up for election, and I think that tells a lot. I could be wrong there, but my point about this is we have to understand that when we lost the election last November, that this is what we're going to be faced with in many cases. Extraordinarily tough decisions, because the White House, that's why I led with that clip, the White House and the administration and the regime, they're the ones that brought us to that. That's the cause of this. Please don't forget that, guys. This doesn't mean that I'm not frustrated about the vote and those 8 senators. I'm not going to say that. I would be lying to you, and I won't do that. But I have to be pragmatic in my thinking about, okay, so now how do we go forward? And yes, I know that insurance premiums through the ACA and some of the other pieces of what's in this could wreak havoc. I'm not stupid enough or naive enough to not see that. Okay? I'm not. I also know the other side of this, or not the other side, but the parts of this that make this a bigger issue is that a lot of people are struggling right now because of the fact that the government's not open. And so we have to be willing to sometimes look at things and go, this sucks, just to use the word, no disrespect. But how do we navigate through this and go forward? Am I concerned about healthcare premiums and all the rest of fallout that can come from this? Absolutely I am. And rather than but, which you guys hear me say so many times, we still have to figure out a way forward. This is still on the Republicans, guys. For us to be so vitriolic and angry at these 8 Democrats in some ways would be a little irresponsible. That doesn't mean, again, I've said this now 3 times, that doesn't mean I'm not upset about it. I'm upset that we were in this position in the first damn place. I don't forget that last year when we lost the election, that we knew that this was coming. And so there's a part of me that does have to look at what did we not do to get us to this point in the first place? And structurally, there's a lot of parts of the Democratic elected process that we got to fix. We got to fix we definitely have to fix the Electoral College. We do. We know that. But we got to get back in power to be able to do that. So when people yell at me about, I don't talk about that enough, I hear you. But until we fix the ground game in terms of getting people back in office, we can't fix the Electoral College. And if you think that other than that, then you're being a doggone fool about it. That's just the truth. We have to get back in power to be in a position to fix that. And that's also on a state level to be able to fix the Electoral College. Newsflash. This vote, yeah, I mean, and I'm getting comments from you guys right now. I'm disappointed in them because it's the leverage that we had in terms of. Let me tell you one of the things that I read. That the Trump administration, after last week's victories in so many different places, they recognized that Democrats, as voters, not the elected officials, were ticked off, and so because of that, they were trying to figure out what their messaging would be. So there's a part of this that I asked the question: did we give away leverage? The leverage that we had, did those 8 senators' votes kind of shift the narrative? And that's clearly what's going to be the conversation these next few days. Mainstream media is going to be looking at this and talking about how Dems caved. Well, let me add some texture to this. The Dems didn't cave, you guys. 8 Democrats decided, because they're in a non-vulnerable voting position, to vote this way. What happened, I've seen some of the responses. I'd like to know what's behind the curtain on this one. I'm going to say this, and I'll take some heat for it, but I've got my Kevlar on. No matter what you think about this, Democratic leadership on the House side, let's be honest. Hakeem Jeffries, as much criticism as he gets for his strongly worded letters and a variety of other things, he kept his caucus in line. So give credit where it's due. So I'm going to praise that part of this conversation. Chuck Schumer did not. No matter how you look at it, he did not. And the problem with that is whether he didn't know that these 8 senators were going to vote this way or not, he did not keep his caucus in line. And so that's, to me, is as big of a message as anything. He should have known that these 8 were going to vote. And if he didn't know, which I find is highly improbable, either way, there are a lot of people that I trust and that I value their opinions and observations that are saying the same thing. That if you're looking at a place that you could say, we've got to fix this right now, and we've been saying it in some, private corners and loudly, there needs to be a stronger, more vibrant's a word that comes to mind, but also just much stronger leadership in the Senate, on the Senate side, as the minority leader right now. And clearly that didn't happen here. And I don't know why. I'd like to know what's behind the curtain on this one. I'd like to know why and it's just 8. So that's why I go into this, and I do scratch my head and ask, how could he not have known it was just 8 that were the ones that voted? Why weren't there 10? So there seems to be some, and this is where a lot of us are frustrated. Was there a strategy behind these 8 that got picked that none of them are vulnerable and they're up in the next cycle in 2026? Durbin's leaving, and the other 7 are not up for re-election. So, it's a struggle to work through this. And, I slept a little bit less last night because it's important to me. And it's important to me to deliver to you guys something that's meaningful. So as much as we don't know about this and would want to know more in terms of what's behind the curtain, what we do know is that if the government's going to open back up, then as soon as that happens, I believe the Democrats have got to come to the table and not to the table, have to come to the microphone, and they've got to speak loudly to the Republicans. They're still the ones that caused this. They cannot lose the message opportunity here. Some of it's already gone. Is it gone entirely? I don't know. However, that's what's got to happen. Each of those 8, I believe, needs to come to the mic and explain why they voted the way that they did, so that people know why. If they don't do that, that's a failure on their part, and that's a failure on Schumer's part. He and those 8 should be in front of microphones all day today and tomorrow, explaining why they did it. Because to leave it left to mainstream media is going to be a disaster. And so for me, the bigger concern is that they don't. If they don't do that, then minds are going to just go down the path that this was. That it's just too many opportunities for inquiring minds to go down a path of in the wrong direction on this. I was just asked this question. This was a jailbreak. What evidence do you have that another Senate leader would have changed this outcome? I don't have any evidence of that. That's not what I said. I said going forward, we need to have stronger, more vibrant leadership when it comes to these things. I didn't say that in one way. Anybody hear me say that? If I did, let me know. What I said is that I want to see the Democratic leadership stand and make sure that they keep their caucuses together. Jeffries did that in this case. It has done it thus far, and it doesn't seem that Schumer has done that. Because how do you not know? Or he voted no, so he had to know that the other 8. I mean, again, I'm respectfully, there's a little bit of speculation, but there's wonderment, which leads to what I said: why they need to, why they have to come forward and talk about why they did it, to take away the conversation that they didn't know what the hell they were doing, and that they caved. If they don't, that to me is going to be as big of a problem as anything, is if they don't come to the mic and speak to why they did it. Okay, we got to take a break. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
In this information age, you would think that high school athletes are reasonably knowledgeable about nutrition. Think again. According to Jennifer Fields, assistant professor of nutritional science at the University of Connecticut.
When it comes to general nutrition knowledge, athletes scored about 55% of questions correctly. And then specifically as it pertains to sport nutrition knowledge, athletes scored about a 35%. So pretty low, as you can see.
So how much of a teenage athlete's diet should come from carbohydrates?
A majority of their calories should come from carbohydrates. About 55% from carbs, about 30% from protein, and then about 25% coming from fat.
Professor Fields also warns against the use of intermittent fasting, which can hinder consistent fueling, essential for athletic performance. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. So, yeah, I know that some of you are frustrated in this space. We all are. Don't get me wrong. I hear your concerns, and, I get it. So those that are frustrated with how I'm handling this or talking about this, I get it. So there's clearly a concern, and I'm not hearing you guys, but I do not want, I don't want anybody to misperceive this. The Dems, the eight senators that voted the way that they did, voted for a reason, and I'd like to hear what that is. For them to not share that with us, I think, is a critical error on their part. The American people need to know that they voted for this and why they voted for this. For us to cast them aside and say that they didn't stand strong and hold the line for 40 days and all that would be irresponsible, I think. Just to say that they didn't care. I don't think that there's see, the easy thing to do is just to jump on the bandwagon. The hard thing to do is to stay off the bandwagon. That's the easiest thing to do in my life experience, to jump on the bandwagon. That's the easy route. To stand aside from it and look at things in maybe a different light. The Dems held strong, and then a couple of you have sent me this text message. Yeah, they held strong. I agree. But I want to know why they chose to go in this direction. I think we all need to know that. The information gives us the ability to make better decisions. And so we need that information. I don't care what anybody has to say about it, me positioning that. We need that information so we know why. Not knowing is problematic as much as them voting the way that they did. That doesn't mean we will change how we are and how we feel about this, but then we know it allows us to proceed with a little bit more understanding. That, to me, is the way we have to navigate at this point. Whether what Schumer knew or did not know, I find it hard to believe that he didn't know and that he couldn't keep his caucus together. But maybe when we know what was behind the curtain on this, we'll have that better understanding will allow us to process this differently. Doesn't mean you're not going to be angry. I get that. And we know that there's still going to be millions of people that are going to be potentially affected by what happens with the ACA. Doesn't mean that goes away. But having that knowledge allows us to build as we go forward. So don't just be someone to jump on the bandwagon of anger. That to me is a problem. So We have to fix these things, and we fix them with information. Am I upset about how the Democrats handled this? Absolutely, I am. That doesn't change. Me wanting more information doesn't change the fact that I'm upset about it. I'm upset that we're here in the first damn place. Okay, and so keep in mind that a lot of this goes back to the fact that we've got some structural issues. I'm just reading the text. Yeah, okay. Listen, yeah, I know that the corporate people say corporate Democrats still control the party. We know all of that. But what's your solution to go forward? You can throw out these statements, guys. You can throw out statements all day long. But what's the solution to go forward? Change. And if we don't like what they're giving us, then we don't curl up and say, I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to be a participant. We got to get in the mix. All right, Deb, let's see if we can carve in a couple calls before we get to the top of the break. Let's go to Sean. Hey, Sean, from Politics Bar. Hey, good morning, man.
You got it. You got it, Richard. How you doing, man? How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm pissed off.
You and me both.
But
you and me both, man. You and me both. Look. I think there's an easier way in some ways for folks to get to a little bit easier place on this. Remember when we had you at the Politics Bar? Jody and I were talking with you. I think we were talking with you about cleaning up the media.
Yeah.
I've mentioned this before on the show. Look, oftentimes people will dog on the media when some corner faction, let's say good old Jake Tapper, does something stupid, and then everybody else in the media spends 2 days cleaning up his mess. And I've explained it before. I've said the media as a whole is kind of like everybody who works in one big office building. And when somebody does something stupid like that, it's like they came over and took a dump on your desk. This is going to make you mad. It's going to make me mad because we're going to be spending a whole lot of time cleaning up their mess for the next 2, 3 days, 3 weeks, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't all Democrats. So the first thing that folks need to do, when they're not, of course, listening to WCPT, is if they're dealing with mainstream media, they're on their socials, they hear it, whatever, is hit the mainstream media and be like, this wasn't all Dems.
That's right.
There's a small group of Democrats and call them traitor Dems because that's what they are. They're traitors. They're traitors to the people that they serve. They obviously have hung them out to dry, but more importantly, those traitor Dems metaphorically came over to our desk and took a big crap on our desk. We got to clean up their mess. And what it means is if you know look, I live in the Virginia corner of the D.C. Metro, as everybody who listens to the Politics Bar knows. I have a recurring donation to Tim Kaine. I have stopped that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you know, and when they get that chance, as you said, to come to the microphone and explain themselves, that's fine. But there's also going to be a couple more key votes coming up in January now that they are pushing this continuing resolution off to January.
Yep.
Words are great. They're going to have a chance to do some actions, and they're going to need to make their words and their actions meet. But more importantly, make clear to the rest of the media, to everybody you know, this wasn't Democrats, this was traitor Dems.
Yep.
This wasn't regular Democrats.
That broad statement. That broad statement, Sean, the Democrat. No, I can't get on that bandwagon. We call out these 8 for what they did.
Right.
But like I said, there were 40 others that said no. And let's be honest, we're still here principally because of Republicans. And that cannot be lost. And this is where the media and mindset can get in the way. The Democrats did not cause this. Their opportunity to fix it, and the traitor Dems that didn't do their part is real.
Right.
But at the end of the day, there are Republicans in the House and the Senate that this is in their lap. What about the Johnson vote? What's going to come?
No. You're 100% right on this. And the other big thing is, folks got to remember that now this is all going over to the House.
Yep.
And we all know, Republicans over there, they stand there, they wave their impotent Tiny Johnson at us, and whatever. He's got to get his people in line to do whatever. So every Democrat over there, Hakeem Jeffries has been doing his job on this. He's going to continue to do his job on this. We do need to make the focus that this is a problem that Trump and the MAGA Republicans have created for all of us. And yes, unfortunately, we're going to have to clean up the dump they took on our desk. But make sure that people understand this wasn't all Democrats.
Nope.
Most Democrats did what we all saw last Tuesday, what we all saw when we all came out, when we all worked. And so you hear some young person going, I can't trust the Democratic Party. Tell them, no. there's some Dems you can trust. But, for example, no offense, Senator Durbin, can't trust him right now.
No.
And until he comes out and apologizes for taking a dump on our collective desk, that's how it goes.
We spent too much energy.
I thought that might be a little way to help you out on that one. We want to get you back in the politics bar at some point. Honestly, Richard, we love having you on.
I appreciate that, Sean. You and Jody set that up. Hit me and just throw out some dates in the next, week or two, and I'll be there. You don't have to ask one time. I'll be there. So make it happen. It's a yes.
So much, and we thank everybody who listens both to you in the morning and listens to us on the Politics Bar, 8 p.m. WCPT. I think we got JoJo from Jurors coming in the bar tonight. So
that sounds cool. All right, man. Sean, thanks for the call, and let's get this back together, okay?
Hey, please, I'll give you a holler. We'll drop an email.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, man.
All right, man. Talk to you later. Let's see if we can grab a quick one from Rio in South Carolina. Is that right? Or Carolina? Where? I hope I got it right.
It's Leo.
It's Leo. Oh, Leo. Oh, hey, man. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. What you got to say real quickly?
I'm gonna be a broken record again today, and I don't hate what they did, because, to be honest, I don't feel like we were winning the messaging on the shutdown, because I don't think that Democrats are getting out there saying, like, we're holding the line for your health care, we're holding the line for your food benefits. We're trying to keep you guys alive while they're trying to give tax cuts to the rich and sell your farms to the vice president.
Right.
I want – now, the good thing about reopening the government is, what's Mike Johnson going to say about not swearing in the Arizona representative?
Yeah, exactly. I've gotten a dozen texts on that already this morning saying, yep, this means that they got to open the government, got to swear her in, and,
Well, don't count on it. Don't count on it.
I know. He might try to sidestep it.
Yes, sir. Count on it, because we know why he's not doing it. What the Democrats should have been doing all along was saying, this is the Epstein shutdown while they're building the Epstein ballroom. And I wanted more people. I love this woman already. I want more people like her sitting in an empty office in an empty Capitol building, saying, knock on Johnson's door and say, hey, where are you at? Like, we're here ready to work. We're here trying to keep the government open for the American people. Why aren't you here?
That's right. That's exactly right.
And they should have been doing that all along. And Democrats have got to get more performative. And I know I've said that for 10 years now, but I'm waiting on them to get the message.
Leo, thanks, man. I appreciate the call, and thanks for the reminders. Stay safe out there. We know you're out there protecting and serving, so be well, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. Wow. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. With the summer finally being here and everyone going on those vacations, let's look at some hotels that support the Democratic Party. Hyatt Hotels. Now, Hyatt Hotels is owned by the Pritzker family. Why does that Pritzker name sound so familiar? That's right, Governor J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois. Safe to say that Hyatt Hotels supports the Democratic Party. Choice Hotels. Now, Choice Hotels donated $1.3 million to Democrats in 2024. And if you're wondering, Choice Hotels owns Quality Inn, Sleep Inn, Okono Lodge, and Roadway Inn. Wyndham Hotels. Now, Wyndham Hotels owns Super 8, Days Inn, Aquanita, Ramada, and more. Marriott. Marriott donated $228,000 to Democrats in 2024, and Hilton Hotels donated $241,000 to Democrats in 2024. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
Picture this. You're halfway through a DIY car fix, and boom, you're missing a part. But it's okay, because whatever it is, it's on eBay, and it's guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. The Senate took the first step to end the government shutdown yesterday after a group of moderate Democrats agreed to proceed without a guaranteed extension of health care subsidies. At a news conference, Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen, one of the three former governors who voted to extend government funding until late January, in exchange for a mid-December vote on extending the health care tax credits, says these are conditions Republicans would agree to.
The agreement
reinstates thousands of fired federal workers and provides back pay to more than 1 million others. It advances 3 bipartisan funding bills for agriculture and FDA, for military construction and Veterans Affairs, and for the legislative branch. It restores a real bipartisan appropriations budget process.
Final passage could be several days away if Democrats object and delay the process. President Trump has pardoned his former personal lawyer Rudy Giuliani, his former chief of staff Mark Meadows, and others accused of backing the Republicans' efforts to overturn the 2020 election. This is according to a Justice Department official. California health officials say preliminary tests found that ByHeart baby formula contained the type of bacteria that produces the toxin linked to a botulism outbreak. At least 13 infants in 10 states have gotten sick, and no deaths have been reported. In France, a Paris appeals court has decided to release former French President Nicolas Sarkozy from prison and place him under judicial supervision. The head of the BBC and the broadcaster's top news executive both resigned yesterday, following criticism over how the organization edited a speech by President Trump that he made on January 6, 2021, before protesters attacked the Capitol in Washington. Critics say the way the BBC edited the speech for a documentary last year was misleading and cut out a section where Trump said he wanted supporters to demonstrate peacefully. This is AP News. A deadly typhoon has hit the northern Philippines as the country was still dealing with the fallout from Typhoon Kalmegi. The AP's Nayeon Kim reports.
Residents in the Philippines are cleaning up and mourning loved ones after Typhoon Fungwong swept through the country's northwest. At least 4 people have been killed and more than 1.4 million displaced after Fungwong blew out of the northern Philippines on Monday. The country is still dealing with the devastation from Typhoon Kalmegi, which left at least 224 people dead in central provinces last week before pummeling Vietnam, where at least 5 people were killed. Fungwong slammed ashore in northeastern Aurora province on Sunday with sustained winds of up to 115 miles per hour, setting off floods and landslides and knocking out power to entire provinces. The typhoon is now forecast to head northwest toward Taiwan. I'm Nayeon Kim.
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A winter weather advisory remains in effect. Periods of snow showers early today. Otherwise, we'll see decreasing cloud cover with a high in the mid-30s. Winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. Tonight, increasing clouds, a low near 27. By Tuesday, a slight chance for snow early on. Partial sunshine develops high around 41 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 27.
Straight Talk knows the best holiday gift is simply saying yes.
Yes, you can stay up late. Sure, more cookies. Of course we can watch that movie again.
That's why we give you real unlimited data, so you can say yes to all of your family's streaming, scrolling, and sharing. And now at Straight Talk, get another gift worth giving, a free 5G phone with select plans. Because yes is the best gift to give.
Yes!
And receive. Available at straighttalk.com and Walmart. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. Thanks to you guys who called in and sent me texts, keeping me up to speed, all that good stuff. Yeah, frustrating as hell. There's no question about it. This is, there's a lot of other words that people are using to describe where they are right now. But one of the voices that is always commenting on what's happening with the country, with so many great articles, so many great posts from PoliticusUSA and the Daily with Sarah Jones is none other than Sarah Jones. Good morning, Sarah. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. What a mess.
It's so frustrating. I'm gonna let you go
so
first.
angry.
I am too.
Okay.
I am too.
I'm listening to your callers, and I totally get you're also right, but before I get to breaking that down, because I think that there's, looking at this politically in terms of what it means for the Democrats is very different than looking at it personally, what it means for the people and for their cost.
Right.
And but those two things should be the same, and they are not, and that's the fundamental problem. But let's go back to these people. Let's get right into it because, I've just been so angry like you. I didn't really sleep last night. What a betrayal of, after this historic protest and historic election where Democrats flipped districts all over this country that were dominated by Republicans, sometimes for 100 years. And what do these people do? But why did they do this? I heard you talking about a lot of that and kind of people having questions. What it looks like to me is very basic. It's their own self-interest and the interest of their district. And if you look at like Senator Kaine, for example, Virginia's full of federal workers. So, he thinks he's doing that. Look at Fetterman, my senator here, full of, I don't know what happened to him after he got elected, but he really changed from the way he operated here in Pennsylvania and turned into this, he thinks he's doing getting ready for a presidential run. I don't know who he thinks is going to vote for him, but he's got that cinema mansion self-delusion where he thinks that if he moves more and more to the right, he'll win a presidential election. Well, who's going to vote for him? This is what I always say to these Democrats. Who is going to vote for you? Look what happens when Democrats do not center themselves on their own base. They had, if you look at Obama's election and you look at Biden's election, the base, when it shows up, is huge.
It's massive. It's
massive. So talk to those people. That's all you've got to do. And talk to those people and stop, catering to special interests. It is not difficult to get that message through. Now, is it difficult though? This brings up, the problem that I know you're talking about. I heard you talking about it, and it is really frustrating because we can't fix it right now, which is that a lot of the people that are in office right now need to go. Mm-hmm. They are beholden to special interests, and all you have to do is go look at Open Secrets who donated to them, and then you will find out why they are voting this way. And frankly, I've been doing this for 15 years. I have been championing institutionalism and slow but steady change, which is, has historically always been the change that stayed, right? So it's pragmatic that those are the things, and that's how we build towards more and more progress. But as all of that was going on in the background, since Obama, during Obama, well, that's not even true. They started that. Republicans have been so extreme. They started that way before that. But let's just go to Obama when they really showed themselves to be what they are now.
Because of the Tea Party. Keep going.
The Tea Party, exactly. The extremism of Republicans made being pragmatic more and more impossible for Democrats because they are always facing. Democrats are basically the abused victim in a relationship with an abuser. And so right now they've got this, we'll let you have a vote, honey, if you just come home soon. Yeah. Just come home now. And then later, I won't hurt you anymore. And I might let you have a vote. Of course, that's a big fat lie. And anyone with a brain can see that. But here we are because, these 8 Democrats are looking after their own self-interest. And that's, I just, when you look at recent polling, 78% of Americans and nearly 60% of Republicans support extending the ACA tax credits.
Yeah. It's Sarah, there's so many, the analogy you just referenced as it relates to the abused relationship, and nobody take that that analogy from Sarah or me commenting on it the wrong way. We respect that that's a reality for some people in the real world. But there's a message to be put out there about Democrats sometimes do perform that way. And in this moment, you know, to a couple of things you said, there needs to be some change structurally with Democrats in terms of who's in leadership roles. But we got to keep in mind something, that people in states and districts vote for the people that they voted for. And so until voters in certain communities decide to not vote for that person, then we're going to, you know what I mean? This is where as a pragmatic person, I struggle with that because I'm a sledgehammer person at the same time. I'm like, we want Democrats that are going to come in and knock over some tables and let it be known that they're not going to apologize for it. And so this is where the structural part of the Democratic machine has got to change, because we have to put people forward who are going to be pragmatic and knock over tables at the same time. I believe we can do that. And so right now, that's sort of what in many people's minds is missing. And last Tuesday, and this is what I thought you and I were going to be able to talk a lot about today, said that's a strategy that's going to work going forward. And it's one, to your point about it'll be lasting because people can trust that the electorate can trust that they put people in office that knocked over tables and got stuff done at the same time. So my thinking is this, Sarah. It's the question that drives me. How do we go forward? What's in this? What did the Dems get? We know right now, and I've had a number of comments from folks on social media this morning, as well as that have texted me and emailed me, that the pragmatic part of this is the time of the year that we're in. Or that has to be considered, is the time of the year that we're in. And so many people are concerned about this holiday season, travel season, and all those things. And this is not excuse language for the votes. I want to know. I personally want to know. One of the senators is from Illinois, Durbin, but there's others from other areas that are not. I want to know why they all voted the way in which they did. I think it was Shaheen that stepped up and has spoken. But I think that the American people need to know, the Democrats who supported, Democratic voters need to know why they did, because without that answer, it's going to be perceived by so many people that they just caved and that they are traitors. And I think that the message and the visuals and the optics are important here, that they can't do with these one-off. They got to collectively come in, hold a press conference, maybe led by Schumer, to say, here's why we did this. We know the risk. And if they don't do that, Sarah, it's going to make, I think, the perception problem even bigger. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I just don't think it's going to work. The problem is that they have given Republicans, they have proven that Democrats never need to be listened to when they say they're not going to do something. This was the only time Democrats have really stood up to Republican pressure. Republicans are always shutting down the government, right, and then Democrats always come and clean it up. And Republicans have come to rely on that. And this was the only time they were really starting to flip out a little bit, because Democrats weren't coming to fix their mess.
Right.
And what has been very, like, when I talked about personal versus political, one of the issues, sorry, my dog is, there's somebody outside. One of the issues right now is going to be how are Democrats, and I don't agree with this, but I'm just talking about politically and strategically, how do they run? You really can't run on, hey, we tried to save your health care, but some of us betrayed everyone.
Yeah.
That will only work with people who really pay attention to politics. It isn't going to work with the rest of the people. We've seen how those people vote. We've seen how easy they are to manipulate by, with stupid slogans. And so I think what is going to resonate with everyone is that Democrats broke without getting what they said was their chief demand, the extension of these ACA subsidies. That's what is going to resonate with everyone. And their own base feels very betrayed by this. So how are they going to rouse support? That is I look at this stuff and just to go back to the abuse thing, I am not undermining in any way abuse victims. I've written about this constantly, that is the dynamics in abusive relationships. Of course, Donald Trump would be perpetuating that dynamic and inflicting that on people because he is an abuser. Yeah. And it is a horrible thing to witness. And I worry every day about people who have been victims of abusive relationships, because everything that's happening in Washington, D.C. is triggering all of that stuff. And it is very much like that right now. And that's why, I wanted to be clear that people understand and understood where you and I are coming from in using that analogy. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Sarah Jones. It's Monday morning, and we're trying to hammer this out. Sarah, listen, one of the big things the point you just made, and this is where, I sit in this and just go, okay, the everyday person may not get this. I agree with you there, that this is where the struggle is that the conversation in the political, hallways, whether they be elected officials, journalism, on and on, radio shows, podcasts, is going to look at this one way, and then people who are regular everyday citizens may look at it differently. And I think that's where the disconnect is going to be right now. And unfortunately, Republicans are going to ride on this as a victory. But and that's the part that I meant earlier when I talked about momentum. Last week, we snatched a lot of momentum in the game. And that is my other concern about this, is that momentum that we got last week. Now, we don't have to let that happen. But again, we're talking about maybe two different groups of people. Those who are participate like we do, and those who participate as regular everyday voters that are not, marinating in this stuff all the time. So I guess that's the basis of why I say that messaging right now is incredibly important, because those folks need to be they need to be made aware. How they accept it, if they accept it, is another story. But I think that to not do that would be yet another failure that I don't want to see these Democrats make. I don't know if I'm right or wrong in that. But I do feel that you're right. What I will say is that I know you're right about that disconnect from the everyday voting person is definitely at risk. And to go back to the strategic point that I was making earlier about, how are Democrats going to campaign on this? What Senator Chris Murphy said, this makes Trump stronger, basically, and not weaker. And Trump was being weakened by this. He is being weakened by this shutdown. He is being weakened by that election. He is being weakened by the protest. And so what those 8 Democrats just did was embolden him. And to go now, I will wrap this back up to the abuse thing, because those dynamics are so important to understand. You cannot appease an abuser. They will never give what they promise they are going to give. If that somehow with the abuse dynamic, the abuser does the abusive thing. They take away health insurance. They are going to kill 50,000 people, 50,000 Americans. Then they blame the victim for that. So they're blaming Democrats. Democrats are out there trying to hold the line, and they're saying, hey, we're trying to stand up for these people who are going to lose their health care. And then the media blames Democrats for the shutdown. So if you look at every angle, Democrats are getting pressure. But who was keeping them in line? The people. The people were keeping them in line. And I am not sure that, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I am not sure. And I'm not here to defend any Democrat, but I am not sure that Chuck Schumer was in on this. I think that he sort of got the message, that they needed to stand strong. And I don't see what he would get. Of course, I could be wrong. We don't know. This is just me working down all the different paths. What do they get by caving like this? It's not good for them. this doesn't look good for any of them. So what those now the other thing we haven't looked at, because a lot of those people are retiring, right? A lot of the eight. What you're dealing with, this kind of mob boss in Trump. You can't tell me that he has not offered these people something. That's a possibility too. That is how he operates. And that is how he gets people to, that is how he gets witnesses. He is always out there dangling stuff, which he never gives to people. And somehow, again, people never seem to learn. But you're not going to get what he promises you. It's not going to happen. Yeah. He is always going to take and then get you to capitulate, take what you gave him, and then move on to the next victim. That's how he operates. So,
well, it's true. And that's the next. That is part of this conversation. I'm getting so many texts that are asking questions and asking me to ask you questions. I think one of the big things here, Sarah, is that a lot of people feel that when we use the language, the Democrats caved, is that the ACA was bigger than the reinstatement of SNAP and the reinstatement of federal workers' employees, because the ACA impacts a larger number of people. And to that end, this is where I think a lot of people are just trying to figure out what was the right move. Did we lose our leverage and our momentum by having 8 senators say they're going to vote to reopen the government versus vote to protect the ACA? That's at its core is the baseline question. And what we know is right now, and this is where it's a struggle. Right now, we know that there are people who are hurting because of the shutdown that's lasted 40 days. And I think a lot of people have said, well, if they've gone for 40 days, they could have held out longer. And there's a part that I think we all have to be willing to slow down and ask this question. To what end? Is it how, and I know that the answer may many people be very simple. That was to protect the ACA. I get that. In the meantime, there are people who are hurting right now. So it's when I hear that, and I'm not going to pretend like I have the solution or the singular answer, because I know that either side of this is filled with a tremendous amount of cruelty and pain, which circles back to what you just said about the mentality of a mob boss, is to keep hurting and find the next area to hurt. That's where we are. I have to take the deep breath of saying, so how do we go forward? And how do we actually get here? This is, like Sean said this earlier from Politics Bar, this is in the laps of Republicans. It still is. Even though the 8, quote unquote, may have let folks down, voted in their own interest, didn't have anything to lose, all the labeling that we can give them, which is accurate, may have caved, what Schumer knew or did not know. At the end of the day, we have to ask the question, so now how do we go forward? And, we're not going to vote those 8 out. Durbin's leaving, and there'll be a replacement. But the other 7, we're not going to vote them out. So we've got to look past them now, I believe, and say, what do we do to make sure that we get the things that they say that they voted for in this vote? I think that if we don't do that, because now we have a different standard. Meaning, think about it. They said they're saying what we're hearing is that they did it for this reason, X. So now we have to hold them to account for that, because the needle moved. If we don't do that, that's where we, again, lose momentum. So who's responsible for that? I think we in part are. And I think the other elected officials are equally responsible to their colleagues to say, you voted for this, so now you got to help us get this done. I don't know, maybe I'm oversimplifying it.
No, I think that, what I would say the way to go forward from this is to double down on the pressure. And I would say go to these people's offices, like Senator Fetterman's office isn't even answering the phone here. So you can't call and say, this is, why are you killing 50,000 Americans? So people need to be at their offices and protesting outside. And that needs to be relentless. That needs to be happening every day. And it's easy, to say, oh, we don't like this, but they've got to see it. And they're trying to hide from that. Now, as to your point about what they got or allegedly got, first of all, the things that they got are things that Donald Trump destroyed and Republicans destroyed, right?
Right.
They are the
Getting
ones
back, I guess.
that yeah, so exactly. And that point, this is exactly, and I keep going back to this abuse thing because that is the dynamic.
It is.
You're
right.
not, you know, you're not getting something
right,
back.
It's like if
I act right out, yes.
Right. Yeah. And
that never works.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. And so you're getting back something. They'll just redo that again. And by the way, they needed those people back. They had already admitted they had to rehire people.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's why
you're
going
just
back to
giving
what
them
you said
cover
about the selfish part of this. That's where,
Yeah.
you know, it is. And Sean talked about this too, to some extent earlier when he called in, us cleaning up after those who are being deemed as traitors. We have to go and clean this up, and we have to clean it up because they didn't realize what you just said, which is this is the, you know, the parallel to an abusive relationship, and but it's in politics. It's not a personal relationship; it's a political abusive relationship. And
but I'm afraid they don't care, and that's
you
know, these senators don't care. They literally don't care. They obviously don't care. 50,000 people are going to die. They don't care, and I think that's really a problem. How out of touch do you have to be to not care? And zooming out, yes, this is on Republicans. Republicans are the ones who are in charge of government. They could have redone these ACA subsidies, renewed them very easily. They could have kept the government open if they had passed appropriation bills like is their constitutional duty.
Yep.
They choose not to do all of that, and somehow all of that slides down onto Democrats. Democrats have done a really incredible job of holding the line. And
I just got this text I got to read to you. You know, this is about the thing I keep talking about with momentum. He was tremendously booed at the Commanders game. So clearly we have, and I don't want to, listen, I still believe we have, and I don't think I'm crazy, y'all. We still have momentum on our side because those victories did not go away. They literally did not go away because of the vote yesterday. Sure, we won those races. We won all those in all those locations. That still is a reality. And for us to skip over and say, well, we lost some momentum, we didn't lose it entirely. We may have lost some of it, but we still have to keep going forward, because if we don't and say, well, because of these 8 senators, we can't do anything, that's irresponsible on our part. And I don't think that we should allow that to happen. I can't accept that. You know, to put a sports analogy to it, you got momentum and then you blow a play and then you blow another play. That doesn't mean you still can't win the game. And I'm a believer in that. We have to be willing to say they effed up. Okay, now we got to, unfortunately, to Sean's point earlier, we have to fix this.
Well, and the other thing is what I think Democrats have not, I mean, to your analogy, they haven't lost the game. What is going to happen is this is the month people are renewing their Obamacare coverage, and they're seeing those prices. You know, Senator Tammy Duckworth sent us an email saying people are telling her their coverage is going up by $30,000 a year. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't afford $30,000 a year for insurance.
And whether you could afford it or not, that's the thing we have to remember. It's not if you can afford it or not. It shouldn't be the case. So I always take that off the table. It doesn't matter if one can afford it. You could spend that $30,000 doing, maybe you have it, but you could spend that on something else, like to better your community, better your children's family's life. That's how I always go down this path. We shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to. Sorry, Sarah, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, but that's right, because it should be a right. And also, let's not forget that the only reason that they claim there isn't money for this is because they gave yet another tax cut to the wealthy. And they're shoveling all of this, his tariffs and the tax cut for the wealthy, all of that is coming down on everyone else. And that is what all of this is about.
Yeah.
And Democrats did not vote for that stuff. They don't represent that, you know, to give them their due. Like that is not on them. And to I think the larger point that people are concerned about, I don't think this is going to stop the momentum that Democrats have against this regime. I think it's problematic. I think it's going to be very difficult to campaign on this versus what it would have been.
Here's the thing. Fortunately, we got, this is going to sound crazy, and then I'm going to let you go. But fortunately, this didn't happen 2 weeks ago because the elections could have turned out differently. And that's why when I pull back the lens and go, okay, thank God, timing-wise, we got that done first. And now we got to deal with cleaning up this mess. I love what Sean said from Politics Bar earlier about we got to clean up the mess from our own team. But that's the mess that we got to clean up. Sarah, there's so much more to talk about, as always, when we are together. So my thank you to you is large. I appreciate you taking the time and challenging the norm. I mean, I commend you for that because that's what we have to do. And that's why I have so much respect for your writing and the work that you do because you challenge the norm every single day. So thank you, Sarah Jones.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you with us. We'll talk soon. I got to catch up with you offline because I know we got some other things that we're got to get done. So
we do.
All right, Sarah, keep smiling.
Okay.
I'll talk with you in a couple of days, okay?
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Right, bye now. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. 773-763-9278. We got another guest waiting. This is Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the midst of World War II, a group of Native American soldiers known as the Code Talkers became silent heroes. The U.S. military faced challenge of secure communications on the battlefield, and these men, primarily from the Navajo tribe, were enlisted to develop an unbreakable code. Using their native language, which had no written alphabet, they transmitted vital messages that were indecipherable to enemy forces. The code proved to be an essential asset, particularly in the Pacific Theater, where it helped the Allies win crucial battles. The Code Talkers' courage and ingenuity saved countless lives and turned the tide of the war. Yet, their contributions remained largely unknown until decades later. The legacy of the Code Talkers stands as a testament to the strength, resilience, and invaluable service of Native Americans during one of America's most devastating conflicts. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
Here's the tale of the daily Medfill. Same old pharmacy, same old bill, but those prices kept rising higher still.
Till the savings wrangler rode in, cool as can be. Tap Good RX, saving massively.
No plan? Don't matter none. Up to 80% off. Deals are done.
Discounts hitting harder than Ma's chili. Dang. That one little laugh does all the rest.
Save time and money on prescriptions.
Check Good RX. Good RX is not insurance.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A winter weather advisory remains in effect. Periods of snow showers early today. Otherwise, we'll see decreasing cloud cover with a high in the mid-30s. Winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. Tonight, increasing clouds, a low near 27. By Tuesday, a slight chance for snow early on. Partial sunshine develops, high around 41 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 27.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
This is Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. I know it's been a tough morning. We've been racing around this conversation. I know that Sarah was very, very, heartfelt and passionate about what she sees in this feeling in this space, and many of you are. So I'm going to say this so that we keep our focus and we keep together. We can't be angry at each other, with each other about this as everyday folk. We just can't do that. When I talk about being pragmatic, sometimes that's maybe read the wrong way. It doesn't mean I'm giving in or, just going along. I'm not. I'm trying to find a way forward. It's part of my DNA to find a way forward. And right now, again, the sports analogy that I'm using that I've used earlier is that we just don't. We haven't lost this game. We still are in this game, and if we keep our minds focused on that, then we have the ability to continue to win. We won a lot last week, and to lose sight of that, we can't do that. We're in control of keeping sight of it. These 8 Democrats voted the way that they did. Some are retiring. Shaheen is retiring. Derba is retiring. Fetterman, whatever. I won't say anything nasty about him, but I may want to. And the list goes on. You heard what Sean said. He's not going to be contributing to Tim Kaine's, coffers. And all that's out there. But at the end of the day, what we have to keep in mind is we did not lose. We haven't lost this race. This is a big, big part of where we are as a country. The ACA subsidies and these the concerns regarding that and so many other things, it's massive. I don't take any of that for granted. But being pragmatic says, okay, how do we go forward now? We got dealt a blow. We used Mike Tyson's analogy, if you guys have heard it. Everybody's got to plan until they get punched in the face. We got punched in the face a little bit last night or yesterday, But that doesn't mean that we just go to the corner and sit down. It means we keep fighting. I guess I'm a fighter, guys. I know I am. So I don't want us to sit back and go, oh, those damn 8, they're awful people. They might be, or they may have made an awful decision and all the other things that we could throw into this. And we still, if we give a damn, have to still fight. And, I'm not in love with the Democrats when they do stupid stuff like this. But at the end of the day, it's the Republicans that got us here. If we hold on to that part of this conversation, I think it will help us forge ahead. The Republicans got us here. And with limited tools, if you will, Democrats were trying to navigate us out. I just watched The African Queen again. And you guys may have heard me say this before in terms of why that movie's impactful to me. It's a constant, they just, Hepburn and why am I drawing a blank on this thing? Oh, somebody help me out here. They're constantly fighting the elements. Going down the rapids of a river in Africa, from rain to a boat that Humphrey Bogart and Katharine Hepburn, to a boat that's not going to work, right? And then, animal, just everything. Attacked by a swarm of bees, treacherous waters. But they kept going. And at the night before they were at their wits' end, she said a prayer. And they were just a few hundred feet from where they needed to be to keep going further. And guys, listen, I'm not trying to overmotivate anybody in this moment. I'm just saying, what are we going to do? Just roll up, curl up and go, we're done? I'm just not built that way. And I don't want you guys to be that way. I want us all to know that you're going to get punched. You're going to have your African Queen moments. And it's rocky as hell right now. We didn't start this, though. We didn't start this, but we sure as hell can finish it. And we finish it by staying focused, folks. We just have to. We got punched yesterday, but if we remember, we won big last week, and that felt pretty damn good. And that's what I want us to stay focused on, is that we won last week. And many people are going to be impacted by this vote. We know that already. But people are also being impacted by the government being shut down. And I recall saying back in the summer, I never want to see a government shut down. I know that we were probably heading in that direction. But I said it then. I never want, and I can't remember exactly what show it was or what, it was sometime in the summer. I said I never want to see a government shut down because that means so many things to so many people. Remember when I said that the government shutdown would impact not just those in Washington, D.C., but people right in the neighborhood that you live in because of the impact of our federal government when it comes to employment and all the things that have spiraled since then. So pragmatically, I have to ask that question of myself and then of you guys. How do we go forward? And I know that that's a hard one to hear someone like me say, but believe me when I tell you, it comes from my core. We have to keep fighting. And so now the question is, how do we fight? As I said to Sarah, it ain't perfect, but what do we do to make this right and go forward? These folks aren't up for election, so we almost have to skip past them and say, tell us why you did it so we know what was in your brain, so we know and we're better informed. But then we just kind of have to skip by them and move toward, supporting the other 40 Democrats that voted no. And if this means that we're at a point where Schumer truly does not have control of his caucus, if that's part of us based on how this came out, I don't know that answer. I'm just putting it out there. Then maybe it is time for a different leadership as Senate Majority Leader. It might be. So I'm going to give you, as I was thinking about this overnight and thinking about this early this morning, one of the things that has to happen from us, if we believe in this and we're willing to stay in the fight, is that we have to call our representatives. Starting with the senators in your in your state. If you're in a state where you've got 2 Democratic senators, you need to be picking up the phone and calling them. I'm sure many people are already doing that. If you're in Illinois, ain't no sense in calling Durbin's office. Call Duckworth's office. And get behind others that are running to replace Durbin in Illinois. We got 3 strong candidates. Lieutenant Governor Stratton, Krishnamurthy, and Congresswoman Robin Kelly. Get behind them getting in place. Those elections suddenly aren't going to just poof be gone. Those campaigns aren't going to just be gone. They're still running. So figure out who you're going to support and get behind them. Take action. If you can take action, you don't have a problem. So that's step 1. Call your senator in your state. Call your House representatives in your district. And let them know where you stand on this. Because getting angry at the internet and following the algorithm of anger ain't going to do you any good. Promise you that. You got to figure out how to take some action. The other thing that I think is important right now is to make sure that the leadership knows that you don't like what happened. Because, see, you hold on to all this and it makes you frustrated, then you're paralyzed. And then all you do is yell and scream and you're pissed off at things. So that's why when I say from a pragmatic standpoint, we have to fight and we have to let them know. We have to be the ones that are knocking over the tables right now. And I take a word from my good friend Eric Grant. He says there's some piebacks in the Democratic Party. Yes, there are. Don't be one of them, but call out the ones that are. So it's time. The action is to call your senator, call your representatives. And I'm going to add a layer to that calling. Call the Republican. If you're in a state where you've got 2 Republican senators or a Democratic and a Republican senator, ironically in the state where that happens, then call the Republican senator. 52 of them voted for this. They got us to this point. So when we talk about fighting, part of the fight is directing our anger towards the ones that really caused it. Trust me on that. Okay? Call your Republican elected officials and let them know how you feel about this. Because they're part of the problem. They got us to this point. And if you can separate just enough from the frustration and the anger to do that, I promise you it will be good for you to have done that. So let's take a quick break, Dev. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT Replay.
We are talking with retired Major General Randy Manner.
It's very important that you find these concepts of hope locally, because when it is absent from a higher level, for example, in this case, nationally, you have to look and find it, because there are these great leaders. I will tell you that I was absolutely inspired by the remarks of the governor of Illinois and the mayor of this great city when both of them gave that press conference. I was going, now those are leaders.
Yeah.
Those are people who are saying we are going to stand up for our people. In terms of the people who are listening to this now, if you live in Chicago or you live in Illinois, you should be proud of those leaders that you've elected to stand up for what is right.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back. I've got a lot of comments. One, and how do I want to put this? In one direction and in another. Richard, you're wrong about that, but you're right about this. Richard, you're right about this, but you're wrong about that. So I guess that puts me in the middle. And if that means that I'm you know, I don't say things to be right. I say things to be to try to be effective and to try to have some impact. And right now, the reason I'm taking the position that I am is because I know that we have to stay focused. I mean, I believe it's not about me being right. I believe that if we don't look at what we did get last week, then we lose sight of the bigger picture. And that's where I'm coming from that standpoint. So I'm not apologizing for that. I'm just saying we can lose sight of it, and that's the bigger part of this conversation is that, going back to what Sarah said in part, is that we've got an abuser in the White House. He wants people to feel the pain. He doesn't care about people feeling any better based on his actions. That's how I'm looking at it. So yes, there's a part of this that's where people can say, yeah, Richard, you're wrong. I'm not wrong in my misread of Trump. He wants people to feel the pain. Where I believe I'm right is that we have to keep fighting if we care. And that caveat is important. If you care, if you don't care, then you might perceive me as being wrong. If you've, in your mind, kind of thrown in the towel for the time being, then you might perceive me in my position as being wrong. And I have to respect that. But I'm not throwing in the towel. So that's what this is based on. So just understand it from that perspective. And again, I don't need you to agree with me, but just understand that that's where I come from this. I have to stay focused. I have to, when things like this happen, I have to review what happened and then revisit how I want to respond. And not for the show's purposes, that's part of it, but for me to be able to say, okay, what do I do to go forward? I'm still going to support Democrats that are running to change things. I'm still going to support a Mallory McMorrow who knows that we need to have change in the Democratic leadership. That means I believe in what we're trying to get done. I'm still going to support that we have a stronger senator from Illinois, whoever of the three main candidates were to win, that we have a stronger, more spine-driven Democratic senator in that seat. I'm still supporting that, which is what I mean by staying in the fight. I'm still going to make my phone calls to our elected officials to make sure that they're fighting. For me to to pull the curtains down to say I'm done, that just, to me, that's where I would be making the biggest wrong. And in some ways, people are that's kind of what some people are perceiving these 8 senators did, is that they kind of said, I'm not running again, so I'm going to vote for this because while I'm still here, I want the government to be open. Don't know. And I keep coming back to this for a reason. I want us to know why they did it. I want the American people to know why they did it. And there's some value in that, I believe. And whether you agree with what they say or not, it's important to know the information, because then it allows, I believe, all of us to proceed with the data that's needed to make a decision about our future actions. Trust me, there's value there. Will it change anything? It may, because we then have information. So just let's see if we can push that. We may not be able to get that answer, or those answers, or those press conferences. I don't know. I'm saying that's what I believe should happen. So I review, and then I figure out how I'm going to respond. And in this moment, my review is what did they actually vote for? What are we going to get out of it? Who's going to benefit from it? We know that the government opening back up is going to help a lot of people. And then let's be honest, guys. Let's just look at this from a state-by-state level, on a state-by-state level or basis. There are many governors that are concerned about how the ACA is going to be impacted, or the subsidies. At the same time, there are probably a number of governors, particularly blue governors, that are saying this does take some pressure off of us right now when it comes to SNAP. And that's the crazy irony of this, is that there are governors who over the weekend were trying to determine how they're going to proceed. You heard us play the clip from Governor Shapiro early in the show. So, these are the things that are I said this to myself last night. This is the ugly part of the sausage making of our government system, both federal and state. And it's a harsh reality in that space. It truly is. But I keep coming back to this for a reason, guys. I don't want people to pull down the curtain and say I'm done. Because that's at its core, that's what the Republican Party wants. That what I said last week and weeks prior does not change. The GOP wants people they want everyday folks to just say, okay, I'll give in. Some may say, Richard, well, that's what the 8 did. Okay, I'm not going to disagree with you on that. But I think that as an individual, our responsibility is to say, I'm not going to give in. The GOP wants that. They want it on so many levels with so many things, from book banning to a woman's right to choose. They want people to give in. They want people to yield and for it to just be their way. And I'm asking folks to please not do that, because 8 Democrats acted in a way that is viewed by many as being traitorous in this moment. Please don't do that. I think you'll regret it, because then when you see that more things get taken away, to Sarah's point earlier, you'll realize that wasn't the best decision. So this is why it's incumbent on us to make good decisions. Does that mean just genuflecting to the Democratic Party that's broken our hearts so many times? No, it means fighting for change in the Democratic Party, to have better people in place to get the things done that we want when we elect them. That's what it means. It means making sure that Durbin's seat is filled by a strong, progressive Democrat that understands that knocking over tables every now and again is required. Not just good business, it's required. It means the Mallory McMorrows of the world are going to move to the forefront. It means that the folks down in Texas who are running for seats in the House and the Senate get the support that we need, because they're different. They are change makers. Spanberger and Gab, I hate to refer to them just that way, no disrespect, are 2 new governors elected in New Jersey and in Virginia. It means pushing them to do what the citizens that elected them told them to go and do. And so, guys, there's no rah-rah meant in this. It's just some practical, pragmatic thinking about things. We have the responsibility, I believe, to stay in this fight. And we have to fight in a way that says to the current elected officials, if you're there and you're just occupying space, you got to go. And if it means we are forcing the hands of those, then that's part of our job. That's part of our job and responsibility. I just got a text that I like this. Swear in Adelita Grijalva. Without a doubt. I mean, if the House has got to come back, then that's one of the things that's potentially going to happen. Some say it still may not happen. I don't know. But that's one of those things that we hope will allow us to get closer to the Epstein files and that exposure. I don't know. I'm just saying these are the things that are out there. Let me see what else is being said. Thank you for that, 815. One of our good friends out in Romeoville, Illinois. I'm never throwing in the towel, and I know that we have the concerns. So thank you, Jim in Romeoville, for reminding us of that. So we keep up the fight. Let's see what else is out there. Thanks, 832. We've got to be pragmatic about this. The enhanced subsidies on the ACA are still in place. So, guys, be upset with me if you need to be. I can handle it. I just don't want people to throw in the towel. We had great momentum and great success last week. And we would be irresponsible by not continuing to let ourselves capitalize on that. And if we do that, that's a bigger, that to me, that would be even a bigger mistake. So let's not do that. Let's not let what happened yesterday misdirect us, get us angry at each other, lose focus, forget about the momentum that we got last week, because that momentum is still there. It's a long season. Guys, I apologize with the laugh in my voice about using so many sports analogies, but it's a long season. And this was a loss in some ways, but it doesn't mean we lost the season. So let's keep that in mind as we go forward these next couple of days. And, here's the other thing, too, going back to something that I believe Sean said this from Politics Bar. We got to get after the mainstream media. We have to get after the media for how they cover this. What does that mean? Turn off the show. Don't watch it. You start there. But it also means calling them out on their BS. It does. And it doesn't take away from the fact, and I've said this before, we have a lot of work to do. The vote may have just made it more challenging in some ways. But it also may mean that we have opportunities if we just stay focused. We have some opportunities. And frankly, let's take advantage of them. Let's make sure that we're providing the people that we support, that count on us, with still the leadership that we provide them every single day of our lives. We can't give up on them. By throwing in the towel, we're giving up on the people that we care about around us, I think. So let's not do that. Let's recenter ourselves. You know how when you use your GPS on your phone or your car or whatever, and you hit it and it moves away, and you're like, oh hell, what do I do now? Where am I going? It threw me off. You hit recenter. We have to recenter. And by recentering, we're going to galvanize the energy that we had last week. Again, we didn't lose it. And be able to go forward. So, guys, that's how I see it. I hope that you guys can see a part of it, not as an entirety, but I do think that we have to try to see that as part of our way forward. I appreciate you guys being with us this morning. I know it's a tough morning for so many of those of us who care, but we stay in the fight. We keep pushing forward. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up for the day. Take a deep breath and make your life count, and speak your power. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Volunteering is an opportunity to make a huge difference.
I'm a part of the solution.
Do you want to make a difference? If you volunteer,